Hello, good afternoon, and welcome back to Luxembourg for the second and final edition of the second and final stage, I should say, of the 2023 Elsy Jacobs, a UCI Pro Series race. And on the menu today, we have 115.8 kilometres, starting at the Stade de Luxembourg to Garnich, which is the birthplace of the first ever women's road world champion, Elsy Jacobs. Stage 1 was all action. Starting as today's stage has at the Stade de Luxembourg, under slightly cooler skies, it has to be said. It was quite an active beginning, with the Canadian rider Laurie Millet heading off up the road, but she was soon caught with 15 kilometres done by an ever-active AG Insurance de Garnich Quick-Step team. On the climbs, it was CERATIZIT WNT's Luxembourgish rider, Nina Berton, who absolutely dominated. Getting away off the front of the race and taking the mountains classification, which is the jersey she'll be wearing today, before being caught later on by Heidi Franz of the US national team. Beautiful shot there of yesterday's main climb, the Côte de Sept Fontaine, which had a great effect on how the stage turned out. After that, though, there were some big attacks. This one from Sofia Bertizzolo of UAE Team ADQ. Gradually whittling down a small group till just 5 women remained at the front of the race. But with cohesion not very good in that group, they were caught very close to the finish, despite Ali Wollaston going slightly off course, and a late attack by Christine Majerus. It was Marta Bastianelli who won the day for UAE Team ADQ, repeating the feat from last year and putting her into the overall general classification lead for the second and final stage. Her daughter there to greet her. On the podium, Bastianelli took the flowers, with Ali Wollaston in second place, and Eleonora Gasparini in third. Behind them, Anoushka Costa, the Dutch rider riding for the Uno X team, was fourth. Femke Geritsa was fifth. Ariana Fidanza sixth. Meva Skibin, Stina Borgli, Heidi Franz, and Cédrine Corbeol rounding out the top 10. The general classification sits like this, with Marta Bastianelli leading by 5 seconds from New Zealand champion Ali Wollaston, Eleonora Gasparini at 7 seconds, Costa at 8, Femke Geritsa at 13, as are the rest of that top 10. You can see Fidanza, Skibin, Borgli, Franz and Corbeil. The points classification, Bastianelli also leads that by only by 1 solitary point from Anoushka Costa and Ali Wollaston in third. The Queen of the Mountains is led by Nina Berton, the Luxembourgish rider. Marta Berg-Edzeth is second. Megan Armitage, the Irish rider, is third. And Sophie Wright, fourth. That was the scene this morning in the car park by the Luxembourgish National Stadium, the Stade de Luxembourg. Brand new stadium, opened only in 2021. Team Phoenix de Garnich were fairly active yesterday, and there we have the top cyclocross rider, Manon Bakker, giving it a bit of a warm-up before we got going. It's a beautiful paint scheme on that canyon, I have to say. Fairly nice Pinarello bikes there for Fassa Bortolo, but a slightly more relaxed opening. The podium, national champion and the only remaining rider from the Luxembourg national team, Christine Majerus, celebrates with some local children, though the one on the right looks slightly less enthusiastic. And all the jerseys lined up before the start this morning. The white jersey on the left of Ali Wollaston, who is in second place and leads the youth classification. Marta Bastianelli, our CERATIZIT yellow jersey race leader, is obviously unhappy about something and looking absolutely resplendent, as they say, in her Luxembourg national champions jersey. There is Christy Measures. And the Faray Services red dot jersey is Nina Berton, another Luxembourgish rider. We rolled out from the Stade de Luxembourg about 35 minutes ago, and you can see it's a much nicer day here in Central Europe. It's about 15 degrees, there's a little bit of sunshine around, but a bit more wind. And here's what we have in store for you today. Starting at the Stade de Luxembourg, we have 115.8 kilometres. And they'll come through where we are now, through the village of Garnich, after 20.5 kilometres for an opening intermediate sprint with 3, 2 and 1 second bonus seconds. They head north onto basically yesterday's route, coming back down and joining a final circuit of 10 kilometres, which they pass on for 4 complete laps. One of those will be an intermediate sprint again with 3, 2 and 1 seconds. Did I say 3, 2 and 1 last time? I can't remember, but it's 3, 2 and 1 for the intermediates. My name's Owen Rogers, and I'm joined today by former Luxembourgish road and track professional, Claire Faber.
Hey everyone.
Some images, recorded images from earlier in the day for you. We've had a few attacks off the front. Montecarlo from Fassa Bortolo was the first woman to head up the road, and she was countered by the Arom Italia Basso Bikes rider. Pace was clearly high, but after a few more kilometres, Marie Morgan Le Dunf from Arkea Pro Cycling, she gave it a bit of a go, and there she is, up the road. And with the Frenchwoman starting at 1 minute and 18 seconds down, she's been given her head a little bit. Got a nice aero position, and she's off up the road. And that's where she remains. With live images now of the French rider off the front of the race. What do we reckon then? Do you think Le Dunf is going to make it all the way to the line?
Hardly.
She's putting a big effort. You can see the effort going through the bike, but she's quite nice and fluid there, isn't she?
Yes. We'll see now. She's currently in the region of Windhof, so she already, is currently on the way to the big circuit. So we'll see how the bunch will react. Normally, the second stage is always the chance for the riders who do not really have a good place in GC, that they play out the cards of attacking. But yeah, we'll see how the bunch is going to react and how the plan of the big teams is.
Yeah, we spoke about her yesterday. We saw her at or near the front yesterday. It's her first time she's been to this race here in Luxembourg. And her best result so far is second at La Traverse de... I'll try and read that properly. La Traverse les Eaux de France in 2022, where she led the chasing group home behind Misha Bredevold, who is now on Team SD Works,
yes.
the big team of the world, and what a spring they've had.
Yeah, but you can see already that her pedaling starts to get a bit wobbly, and she already notices the effort, and probably also the day from yesterday, which is definitely not to underestimate.
It was a fast stage yesterday, wasn't it? There was a lot of aggressive riding going on.
A lot, yeah. In general, a lot going on during the stage. So, also concentration-wise, it's quite hard for the riders to keep up with the numbers, to know if it's a potential threat for the GC, and so that's always also an exhausting effort.
Fassa Bortolo giving it a little go there. Off the front, checks under the arm. They're just coming into Steinfurt here by the look of that. I think, are they?
No, this is Windhof.
Oh, okay.
Now they're entering Curich, and then they slowly but surely get into the direction of the first climb in Geischel, the one that they also rode up yesterday.
Good to see the Norwegian team there at the front, giving a little bit of a go. There's not that much enthusiasm to bring the French rider back, is there? She's only 20.
Yes.
And so this is, I mean, we have a lot of young riders here this year, more than perhaps any other year I've been here.
Yeah, that's true.
But at 20, it's a big effort. People develop at different levels, don't they, of course, but she looks like the amount of effort she's putting through the bars, all that wobbling, she reminds me of Jens Vogt.
Yeah, true. Now you can see the bunch is taking it quite easy.
Yeah.
I mean, they know what's on the menu, so...
You can see Manon Bakker right there at the front, number 13. We saw her warming up just before the stage.
Yeah, one of the very tall riders.
Yeah, she's imposing-looking woman, isn't she?
Yeah.
And we saw number 61, Ali Wollaston, who, for me, was the rider of the day yesterday.
Yeah, no, very, very surprising as well. I mean, we knew that she had potential, but still to show us this performance, it was quite outstanding.
Yeah, and her, she's only 22 years old. She likes that position sat at the back, though, doesn't? Kind of makes me feel a little bit uneasy that she's sat at the back when I would rather she was closer to the front. But I think her results show that she's quite capable of getting through to the front when she needs to be at the front.
I mean, also if you're a sprinter, you need to have those skills. I mean, you need to find the gaps where there are no gaps. So that's kind of also one of the major skills that you need to have as a sprinter. And she definitely is a sprinter, as we saw yesterday. So yeah, I mean, she won't have a problem to find her way through the bunch.
And she's second on GC, 5 seconds down. Do you think she can make that up? We've got a total of 16 seconds available, a maximum of 16 seconds against such a strong team as UAE have.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's going to be totally UAE against, I'd say the top 3 behind Bastianelli, just to make sure that she's in a safe place, and it's going to be one team against the most threatening riders.
Yeah, they rode quite defensively yesterday, didn't they? They didn't take the race on.
No, they're quite defensive.
Yeah, I think as well, when Gasparini was in that group of 5 off the front towards the end, she could have worked and gone for the sprint herself. She's a strong rider. But then she's 22 and she has plenty of opportunities, and Marta Bastianelli isn't 22 and has to the end of July, well, to the middle of July before she finally retires from the sport.
I mean, yesterday in the post-race interview, Bastianelli said that for her it's the most important that the team's winning, not her personally, but she's happy if any of her teammates wins. So we'll see if that's true today or not.
Yeah. Gasparini is probably the woman. She's quite a fast sprinter. She's tiny though. She was in the bar. She wasn't on the beer like I was, but she was in the bar in the hotel last night. And for a sprinter, for a fast rider, she's really small.
And she's also really fast uphill.
Yeah.
But cyclists in general, when you say sprinter, they look huge, but just the other riders, they're like toothpicks. So that's the illusion of making them look big, because when you see them in real life and they wear normal clothes, so they look tiny.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Gasparini and Anastasia Carbonari were both in the bar drinking coffee last night. I'm not sure whether it was decaf or not, but it's an Italian thing to have a late coffee, I guess. But
yeah,
I don't have one past 1 o'clock, otherwise I'm awake till about 2 the following morning.
Maybe to help digest.
Yeah, yeah. pace looks high here. The US team there in the middle, Fassa Bortolo. They're such a lovely, aggressive little team, you know.
Yeah.
Everywhere they go, they try and get their jersey on the front. I do love to see that. They have quite a decent social media presence on Twitter, at least, as well.
But I'm quite happy to see also yesterday that the smaller teams don't get intimidated by the bigger teams and still attack and take the action in the hand and just do something so the race gets more animated. So that's quite nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw number 31 at the back there. That's former British road and time trial champion Hannah Barnes in the yellow and red of Uno X. We spoke to her and her mum and dad, didn't we?
Yes.
Before the race, and they're driving to Girona over the next 2 days.
Yeah.
Not the greatest recovery for the legs, but she she really nailed it on the front yesterday on the final ascent of Côte de Septfontaine, didn't she? She was responsible for whittling down that big group, really. A lot of power there. Anushka Costa wearing the green Skoda points jersey. She's second in that classification. She's one of Hannah Barnes' teammates.
Also for a few years teammate of Marianne Vos.
Yes.
So she has been in the scene for already several years and has a lot of experience.
I remember many years ago at the Giro Rosa, as it was then, we had a time trial, and the road book didn't quite explain how difficult it was. It was a time trial to a place called Sant'Elpidio a Mare, and it had a 26% gradient climb at the end. And I remember driving in the team car, Canyon SRAM team car, with Hannah Barnes, who was on that team, and their DS to get to the finish. And everyone was really surprised. But Costa was leading that time trial for a little while. I remember just as she sat in the hot seat, which was particularly hot in some small piazza in the middle of Italy in the middle of summer, which was very much a hot seat, just chatting with her. It was quite nice. I think she was Dutch national champion then. I think it was 2017. I think I'm right.
Could be. Yeah, those roads that they're riding through to the valley, it's used to be my TT training route.
Oh, okay. So how would you approach that? Because it's difficult to ride at a constant power, isn't it, on open roads?
Yeah, but that's also what you need to be doing during a TT. So you need to be able to put down the power on flat and even downhill. Mm-hmm. So that's also what I was training. So the valley was perfect because there was like small hills and you need to go over it, but still not over pace. So that was a good training route.
And of course in Luxembourg you have the benefit of some of the best tarmac I've ever seen.
Yes. But it's hard to find a road without any traffic lights.
Yeah.
So basically, this is one route, and we have also one long road along the Moselle River on the German border. But basically, besides those routes, there are literally no roads without traffic lights, which is impossible for long training efforts.
I've actually ridden that road down the river on a motorbike a few years ago.
That's also every year where the Ironman is happening.
Oh, is it?
Yes, we have an Ironman in Luxembourg, and so it's at the Moselle River because they swim through the river.
Oh, with all the vineyards.
Yes, it's quite a hard bike course.
I bet.
For a triathlon.
Yeah, that was my first visit to Luxembourg. I forget when it was, 2006 maybe. I think 2006, and it rained quite a lot. And we ended up staying in a hotel very close to the railway station in the city, and we worked out it wasn't the nicest part of the city.
Definitely not. I'd say it's the most dangerous one.
Yeah, but generally this is. I won't ask Claire to comment on this, but I've been back here 6 or 7 times to Luxembourg, and it's an absolutely beautiful country. And I think the people are particularly lovely and friendly and have a good sense of humour. And yeah, I love every time I come back here.
Nice to hear that. So I invite everyone to come and visit Luxembourg.
Yeah. There is, isn't there? There's a UCI Gran Fondo World Series race here, isn't there? The beginning of June, I think.
Yeah, it's organised by Frank Schleck.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And of course, if I can say it, Frank Schleck is the sports director on the national team today,
exactly.
though he only has one rider left.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. Christine's, as she was standing already on the the presentation alone, it's unfortunately she's the only one left.
Yeah.
But quite funny story. The Grand Fondo start is in Mondorf, and Mondorf is the birthplace of the Schleck brothers, or not the birthplace, but the hometown.
Yes.
And so as there will finally be built a velodrome in Luxembourg, it's going to be built in Mondorf.
Fantastic. I mean, that's going to attract people from south of Belgium, and Germany, and all sorts, isn't it?
But we can make fun because we wait already for, say, 25 years for velodrome.
Yeah.
But it's finally going to be built, so fingers crossed that it's going to happen.
I remember standing just outside where we're sat now, just about 50 metres up there, after one edition of the race, and Andy Schleck was here with his team, which you were probably here as well.
Yes.
I would have thought, and we had a quick chat, and then he walked off. And before he left, he came over to shake my hand and say goodbye, which I thought was one of the bizarrest moments of my life working in cycling, that a Tour de France winner should come over and say, hi, nice to meet you, I'll see you later.
Yeah, it's funny because we as Luxembourgish people, or in general when you're cyclists, and now with Frank, so that you're really close as he's working for the national team, or with Andy, who was one of the founders of the Andy Schleck team. So basically you're very close to them, and if you mention that name abroad, you get reminded of how big their success was, because everyone else is like, oh, they're big stars, and for us they are just normal people.
Yes, yeah, and they certainly are. I spoke to Frank last night, and just normal guys talking about sport,
Yeah.
The only thing missing was us sitting down having a beer, but it was just sort of two guys just chatting about sport. It was nice.
I don't think so, because he's not going to drink beer. He's going to be drunk after one beer.
Yeah, he looks still to be at race weight.
Yeah. He looks very fit.
Yeah, he doesn't look to have put any weight on since he retired.
Yeah, no, that's true.
There's an easing off in the bunch here. We just missed the gap there. I think perhaps 34 seconds. What's happening there? Oh, radio issues there for Francesca Pellegrini. Help before I fall off. Is that Bertizzolo? Yeah, that's Bertizzolo next to her. I always wonder when you see the lump of a radio stuck out of the middle of someone's back, how painful it must be if you land on that when you crash.
I crashed once on it.
Right.
Yeah. It's not very comfortable.
No. They'd be better in your pocket, but of course you want your pocket, don't you, for food?
Yeah, but either way you have like a box on your bag, which is kind of annoying when you crash, especially.
And of course upsets the airflow. All this talk of aerodynamics these days, but it upsets the airflow across the body. If you've got this big box stuck in the middle of your back, surely it's got to be better somewhere else. Yeah, the pace has certainly knocked off that little bit. The lovely white jersey of the UAE Team ADQ rider, Anastasia Carbonari, there in the middle, just second row back. She's the Latvian national champion. And they're already very much riding as teams. If you look at AG Sudal Quickstep, they're very much together, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, the first climb is approaching in Geischel, so we'll see. There's no points to win on the top, but still.
Yeah, that's the one before the first the Simmerschmelz, isn't it?
Exactly. So I think officially on the program it's called Kreuzerbuch, but the town before is called Geischel. So yeah.
That's Schneider, I think they're on the front, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the American rider. Who was my kind of... I thought she was going to be the GC hope.
Yes.
But we were wrong, because from the beginning they weren't riding for her, I don't think.
Yeah, probably not, but maybe it has changed during the race. I mean, as she mentioned also in yesterday's pre-race interview, that she's done 2 races, but they were in the US, so... it's quite different to race the racing style compared to the US than here in Europe, and she also mentioned that during her interview. So I guess she may have struggled with that.
Yeah.
And also the small roads, a lot of turns, and there if you don't have a proper technique going through the corners, you just spend energy which you could have used later on in the race, which makes it even harder.
And so in the end, it's Heidi Franz that they seem to be going for. I had a chat with her this morning and sort of commiserated with her really about the state, her team state, losing the B&B Hotels team so late last year, and then I don't think the word disaster of ZAF has manifested itself. I think that it would be fair to say that the ZAF thing for every rider involved, and we don't know, but maybe some of the staff, we don't know, people taking on a job that doesn't seem to have paid them a penny. Well, as you say, we don't know what happened, but still that something like this is still going on in the pro cycling scene. It's a shame, though. You finally think that all the aspects have professionalized, but then you hear such a horror story for the riders who are on the team. You think it's unbelievable. Yeah. And it's not a sort of fly-by-night sort of English. I don't know if you know what that means, but it's not supposed to be. Oh, big crash there. Just more than likely a touch of wheels.
Yeah,
with
we
number
see
12.
Maria Martins from Phoenix de Koenig with Portuguese stripes on the sleeves.
I wonder if she's got a mechanical issue there. No, she's back on and riding. A sort of slow speed touch of wheels, hopefully, but by the look of that, everyone's back up and riding, so hopefully no one's suffering with any ill effects after that. You can see the Fassa Bortolo rider there on the left. She's just on the radio quickly. It takes all the impetus, especially when you're going out uphill. It takes everything out, doesn't it? And you've got to start again from zero.
Yeah.
Whereas at least you had some momentum beforehand. Try and get a bit of a toe off one of the cars there. I think that's Petra Stiasny there on the right, the Phoenix de Koenig rider who we spoke about yesterday. The climber. It's good to see her at the front and not hovering around the back. It takes a bit of courage if you're not used to it, and she's not been around that long. It takes a bit of courage, doesn't it, to actually, right, I'm going to do this. And that's the only way to learn, is to be involved, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, and that's probably one of, like, the uphill now is probably one of the comfort zones she has, so it's probably not an issue for her.
Yeah, just a touch of wheels there.
Yeah.
I don't know if someone's just switched across very, very slightly because of the motorbike coming through. But as we explained yesterday, those bikes have to get through. Otherwise, the race route is not secure. So they have to come through. There's no other way of doing it.
But sometimes when for example, like on those images, you see it very clearly. You see girls who have very narrow shoulders and then they ride such wide handlebars.
Yeah.
You see that so often, and it must be super uncomfortable.
Yeah, there's very much... I ride quite narrow handlebars for someone who's got quite broad shoulders.
Yeah.
So I'm the other way round. And there's very much this move now, isn't there, to reduce the frontal area by having narrow bars. But I watched a sort of monologue from a British domestic rider, a good British domestic rider, and he was talking about crashes in a local race, which was raced in quite a well-populated area of southern England in Surrey, and how those more narrow bars give you less leverage to steer. And he was wondering, one of his theories was, apart from the state of British roads, which is currently appalling, but he wondered if they did have an effect. But you look at Stiassny there, she's probably got 44s there, and she's about... But if that's what she's comfortable with, that's more important, being able to control your bike.
You know, the problem also is with the manufacturers, especially for, as an example now, I don't know if it's true for Canyon or not, but since it's an integrated handlebar with a stem, they very often don't really have small sizes in handlebar wide width. So I would, from my days, I preferred the like not the integrated setup, but more like that I could switch. Because I would do like maybe 2-3 bike fits per year, because throughout the season your body is really changing, and so it would be much easier to quickly swap accessories on your bike.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. You say that your body's changing throughout the season. In what way?
For example, during the winter, I did a lot of gym work. And during the season, I reduced that kind of training, and so in the beginning of the season, I'd say I was less flexible because of the gym work, and then during the season I would reduce that kind of training, focus more onto the specific bike training, and therefore also do a lot more stretching to prevent back pain, any kind of injuries, and because you become more flexible and you ride more hours in the position, you can go into a more extreme position, I'd say. And therefore, I would do like 2-3 bike fits during the season. Bike swap for Perrine Clausel. It's a very unlucky moment.
It's just there at the top, though, isn't it, where the feed zone is here?
Yeah, and the momentum of the bunch now, it's really hard for a lonely rider.
Yeah, I've only ever bothered to have one bike fit, ever.
You never had one?
No, I've had one.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've had so many experiences with bike fits. It's the only thing that I can conclude from all of them, I do not work from measurements from a machine. Because I'm not built like a machine, you know. Yeah. Because some bike fitters, they rely like 100% on numbers and ankles and stuff, but that's not working for me. So yeah. I don't know if I'm not typical.
No, I did it because I did no, I've had two, in fact. I did one, and then a short while after, I have square feet, basically.
Okay.
So I did a test on extra wide shoes, and I had a number of pairs of shoes, and I thought I'd go and get the cleats properly fitted on all the pairs so I could assess them fairly. But it didn't make much difference, but it was more comfortable. Yeah.
I mean, also, it's very individual concerning the shoe brands or the saddle brands. It's sometimes with teams it can be quite difficult, as they have sponsored accessories or clothing brands, or for example, you wearing a chamois and you cannot really ride in them.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's different, and you cannot predict if someone's made for those chamois. So it's always a shame when riders are forced to use the material, even though it's restricting them in their performance.
Yeah, I did. This sounds a bit bizarre for a man to say. I misunderstood what I was asked to research, and I ended up doing something about bike fit for women. Writing something. This is quite a long time ago. We were talking about saddles, which is obviously, I would guess, more important for women than it is for men. And the whole cutout in the saddle was made for men.
Yes.
But everything's been made for men through sort of cycling history. Yeah. And it's just that women have had to adapt. And luckily we've got brands now. Is it Ergon They're very much built around women.
Yes.
It's the way it should be.
For example, also there's a brand, SQ-Lab, it's called.
Right.
And they're medical saddles. So basically they have like a hole in the middle, which is reducing the pressure point in your sensitive area.
Yeah.
So there are saddles or brands in general who are more specializing. Because back in the days when I was a young rider or a youth rider, you know, we got a kit from the local club, which was made for boys.
Yeah, yeah.
So there was nobody questioned to get chamois for girls.
It's like putting gloves on your feet. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. And also back then, if you would look at the women collection that some brands produced, it was just ugly, I'd say. It's not something that I would have wanted to wear, and it was not something that the pros wore. So obviously the younger kids, they look up to the pros and say, okay, I want to wear this kit, but it's only produced for men, and naturally you're going to wear it, even though it's not properly fitting. So I think that has shifted quite severely.
Little move off the front here from Fassa Bortolo. You could just see UAE Team ADQ coming to the front in the form of Anna Trevisi and Anastasia Carbonari. But off goes one of the Fassa Bortolo riders. Can't quite see her number there, 82, which would be Alice Palazzi. And no one's particularly bothered. The gap at one stage for Le Dunf was up to 1:15. It's now, as you can see at the top left of your screens, it's now below a minute. So the pace has come up over that last climb, and Palazzi is giving it a go. I think they're quite happy. I think they're quite confident that they'll be able to bring her back.
Yeah. They're quite lucky with the weather, though.
Yes, it's a really nice spring day.
Yes.
I always think that this part of the world is one of the most beautiful areas at this time of year, when the sun's out and there's blossom on the trees.
Yeah.
It's a really, really nice place to be. Palazzi has started the day in 40 feet. It'd be nice if I could speak doing this job, wouldn't it? In 45th place, 1:37 behind her compatriot and overall leader, Bastianelli. Always like those Pinarellos.
Yeah. Very famous brand, especially during the period where Team Sky was using Pinarello.
Yeah. Oh, and her teammate, Tonetti, there. Looks like some sort of issue. Is that a rear puncture? I couldn't quite see. Le Dunf, right-hand junction. This will be the drop down towards the climb now, won't it?
Yes, exactly. So descent down to the valley and on the other side up.
Palazzi doing her best to try and get across. There's another 3 or 4 seconds just dropped off the lead, Le Dunf's lead. That's a lovely name, Le Dunf.
Yeah.
But that's just such a lovely thing to say. And Tonetti just being escorted back to the peloton. She's 3 minutes and 10 down, so with the effort she's having to make here, I don't think she's going to be winning the GC. And You can hear all the sounding of horns. This is teams and bikes that are in the convoy telling other teams and bikes that are in the convoy that someone is coming. That's your finish straight. We've just gone into a bit of a dead spot, I think. That's your finish straight. You can see where that police vehicle is parked up. That's where the road closure is, and you have to turn off there. That vehicle that's coming won't come through the start, partly because there are some barriers right in the way, just out of your shot there.
Maybe a good time to have a little story about Garnich and about Elsy Jacobs. So basically, Elsy Jacobs is not a name which is not known in Luxembourg. She was a very, very famous cyclist. So, and her birth town is actually in Garnich. So therefore, the final stage of Elsy Jacobs is held in Garnich. And she was actually the very first women's world champion back in 1958 in Reims. She was in total 15 times Luxembourgish champion, which is quite an achievement. She was actually a daughter from a farmer's family in Garnich, and she used to help farming work. So she harvested around 250 kilograms of potatoes per day, which is quite an achievement. I don't think that any young people from nowadays could do that. So it's very different from back in the days. And she actually also did a hour record.
That's right, later that year.
Yeah, exactly. The same year she became world champion in 1958. So she accomplished a distance of 41.471 kilometers. So that was actually quite an achievement that she's done now, comparing to the distances that they right now, for example, from Vittoria Bussi, which rode 48 kilometers last September, or Lauden's unofficial record set in February of 48.16 kilometers. So that was already quite an achievement for that time that she was riding in the 50s. She was a woman who had a strong will, and she knew exactly that she wanted to ride her bike and race. So back in the days, there were no women's races in Luxembourg, so she had to go abroad, and she went to Belgium and France to race, actually. Even though she did not have any license from Luxembourg, she would race without a license. And even though the National Federation initially refused her license because, as they said, girls don't race.
That's right.
She then obviously convinced the federation that it was in the end a good idea to give her a license and ride. 1957, so a year before she became world champion, she finally got a license from the federation. And from that moment on, she became a full-time cyclist. So quite impressive, and actually, I could say as a Luxembourgish person that I'm quite proud that we have such a story with Elsy Jacobs, so with a woman that had such a strong will to race, that we can
and to succeed.
Yes, succeed, and still call this our last finish of this stage race, being the hometown of Elsy Jacobs.
There's your board. I can't quite see that. Is it saying 1:30 or is it saying 30? I've just posted on my Twitter account at Owen Rogers something I wrote for the wonderful magazine, which was Pro Cycling, and I wrote it about this race probably 18 months, 2 years ago. So take a look at that if you'd like. As I say, I'm at Owen Rogers, and Claire is at Faber Claire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too active on Twitter, so there's not a lot going on my Twitter account. Yeah, still not much happening in the race. We have two girls off the front. One is chasing the front. So François Bortolo chasing the French woman from Arkea, and the bunch still remains together. So we'll see. So now she's taking the bands up to the climb.
You spoke of narrow bars. she's got narrow, but I think they're perfect for the width
Yes,
of
they
her
actually
shoulders.
fit her shoulders exactly.
Yeah.
But still, I don't get the logic of turning your brakes in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, there is no logic. Sometimes you can do it a little bit to have a more ergonomic feel, but still, sometimes you see it's so extreme that it does not look comfortable.
You could see that Palazzi is closing right in on Le Dunf. Now, she's not far back at all. There she is now, look. But the peloton are also closing in,
Yeah.
and 27 seconds. And both women are going to be back in the bunch now. And I fear, looking at Le Dunf's face, that she might not be in the peloton for too long.
No.
And that's Marta Lach, who won a stage here in 2019. The Polish rider, former Polish champion there, as you can tell by the flashes on the cuffs of her sleeve. She's there just leading the peloton. She did say she might try and get up the road today, but whether that's still the plan, I wouldn't expect anyone ever to tell me what they're really thinking ahead of the race. So Palazzi straight over the top of Le Dunf. Le Dunf just trying to hold the wheel there, but I'm sure they'll try because it's never over until it's over. But
yeah, this is a phase of the climb which is quite flat, and then it gets a bit steeper at the end. So we'll see how both outbreakers will handle the bunch, setting up a higher pace probably.
Even in a country like Luxembourg, you do get dead spots on your phone reception and your 5 and 4G, and that's what's happening to us here, is that, hence our pictures dropping out.
Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of forest, so...
You do. You have a lot, especially in those hills just up there, don't you?
Yeah,
It's really, really
exactly.
forested. Good mountain bike and gravel country, do you think, round there?
Depending on the region, you can really find difficult mountain biking routes. So from where I originally come, from the south of Luxembourg, it's very famous for the mountain biking routes.
Right.
Because it's very, very stony, you know,
Okay.
and very technical. So they organize a lot of cyclosportives of mountain biking. But yeah, for graveling, it's also really nice. In general, Luxembourg, I think it's a very, very good cycling country.
Yeah. It's quite varied, isn't it? Because it's very
Yes.
flat in the
Yeah.
south.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can do both in one day.
Yeah, exactly.
You can do both twice in one day, really.
Exactly.
Pretty sure that's Le Dunf from Palazzi Court.
Yeah, UAE passing on the side just to be sure that they're in the front.
Yeah, that's Bertizzolo. Probably, I imagine, just bringing Bastianelli to the front. CERATIZIT, good to see them stamping their authority on their race. They've been, they're leading the team's classification at the moment, and it's, I know the race is sponsored by their sponsor, but who are a big sponsor within the sport. They're a fantastic company for the women's side of the sport, not necessarily for the men's, but they've got the team and they sponsor this and a couple of other races, and all sport needs sponsors like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So CERATIZIT brought it back in order that Nina Berton can try and secure her mountains classification jersey.
Yeah, she just needs 1 point, and then she has enough points so that nobody else could take away the jersey.
There are only 15 points left available in the race, and there she goes over the top. I'll have a bottle, please. Bottle of champagne, perhaps, to celebrate that jersey. Sticks it in the cage. 20 points she now has. It looks like Mazurus maybe a little bit of a Luxembourgish conspiracy there to try and steal the points so no one else got them. But she's got them, and that'll give her the jersey, which is really important for a home rider.
Yeah, yeah.
Hannah Barnes, anticipating her drive across for a family get-together, a birthday get-together later in the week. And just dropped off the back there. Berton just keeping that gap open. I don't think the bunch is going to let a group that big get Fassa-Bortolo there. Just trying to think, just thinking about going it alone. Looks like Skylar Schneider just trying to close it down. I think this will all come back together, but it's good to see the aggression.
Yeah.
AG Insurance, as they were yesterday, involved in absolutely everything. Schneider, who I confidently predicted would be the US team's protected rider, isn't. 47th place on GC at the moment, 144 down. But it's just this lifting of the pace. There's a gap there, the Norwegian rider trying to close it. UAE, I think that's Bertizzolo down on the low on the front of her bike, trying to bring this back.
Yeah, that's where all the riders in the back are suffering. That's how you make everyone really suffer if you keep up that high pace.
After the climb.
Yes, yeah. Where everyone tries to come back to the bunch. Yeah. And with attacking like this going on, it's going to be quite tough.
Yeah, and the pace is bang. CERATIZIT really trying to put the hammer down. It looks good.
You stole that quote.
I think I would say that is a generic quote, and that Celia Uttrup Ludwig is not hers. She hasn't copyrighted it.
No.
Just yeah.
I feel like when everyone else says it's like it belongs to someone else.
Yeah. But if you're listening, Silla, tough, I'll use it. Big puff of the cheeks there. Do you remember here, at this exact point yesterday, there was a bit of a move off the front by AG Insurance?
Yeah.
And once again, that was covered yesterday by UAE, and exactly the same has happened today. But look how stretched that bunch is. And these guys at the back just out the saddle, just desperately trying to get back on.
Yeah, there we can also see Marta Lach just on the right side. She's also struggling to come back.
Yeah, perhaps she's not feeling too well.
She doesn't look like it.
Yeah, she looked fine this morning when we spoke to her.
Yeah, normally she rides it differently.
Yeah.
She has a...
I love her aggression. She's a great rider.
Yeah, exactly. So there must be something.
Come on, says number 65. Let's get back on. That's Gaia Massetti, who was a victim of a little crash as she went through Steinfort yesterday. Come on, get on my wheel. But that's not characteristic.
No.
Characteristic. There, is it, from Lack? You wouldn't normally find her at the back, sort of struggling to hold the wheel. Looks to me like the US team have a bit of a plan going on today. I think that's France there in the black helmet. Is that France? Uno X coming forward. There's a big lifting in the pace here, isn't there? They're heading back down south now. They're going to be heading down the sort of the western side, if you like, of the right down the Belgian border, essentially, isn't it? In an effort to come back to here, and they do kind of 4.5 circuits of the local lap here, don't they?
Yeah, they
sort of 4 3/4, bit more.
Yeah, because they kind of enter the local loop on, I'd say, in the middle of the local loop.
Yeah.
So, and they do 5 loops in the end on the local loop. So it's quite tough. Also, this is the same one as they climbed up yesterday, which was in the final course.
Yes.
So that's gonna hurt. And then it's gonna be just on the straight national road, and then they go left, which is also quite steep one. and all the time narrow road. So therefore, it's a bit nervous that everyone wants to go to the front.
That's Fanny Bonini just slipping out the picture there, the Romitalia Basso Bikes rider.
There again, Hannah Barnes.
Yeah. Bloke on a Harley Davidson giving him a clap. Never been a fan of Harley Davidsons.
I never thought about I never thought about it. I like cars more than bikes, so.
I think I'm too old for more motorbikes. I once rode down to my motorbike. This is the Ligurian coast for the end of for the final 4 or 5 stages of the Giro Rosa.
Oh, that must have been a long ride.
Yeah, I did that in 2 days. So I think I did about 1,000 kilometres on the first day and maybe another 500 on the second. In quite extreme temperatures as well.
Yeah. Yeah, all very, very calm and controlled.
Yeah. It's back under control, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can just see, just disappearing out the picture is Carbonari there, the Latvian champion. And on her wheel was yesterday's 3rd place rider, Eleonora Gasparini.
Soon turning left up a steeper hill, and then they go all the way back the same way as they left yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically the same route as they descended yesterday. Also the very famous Rebierge, and today they're climbing it. So
Yeah. So that's the Queen of the Mountains CERATIZIT. So it's not the CERATIZIT jersey. It's I believe it's the Farai Services jersey that's been secured for the home rider. And the Skoda jersey just come through. That's a nice coloured green. It's a bit more. Often you see green jerseys are a bit too green. I like that. That's classy colour.
yeah, also the combination with the lighter green.
Yeah, with the logo in. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh. Traffic jam. There's been a big pink rider who was struggling with the mechanical.
And Barnes back to the front. She keeps on coming back. I wonder if she's just purely riding to power.
Yeah.
And so on the climb, she's just
I mean,
letting
it
herself
could be.
go.
It could be.
Marta Goossens. Now, I'm absolutely certain that AG Insurance Soudal Quickstep will be riding for Ali Wollaston. But Goossens is a decent sprinter. And whilst I was more than likely served a curveball by their sports director yesterday, she did say that Goossens is certainly an option for a bunch kick.
Yeah.
She's a 20-year-old Belgian rider, as you might expect with a name like Goossens. decent sprinter, decent time trialist. I've always had a bit of a bugbear about Belgian women's cycling. That, you know, cycling is like a religion in Belgium, especially during the spring. It's and it's a cliche, but it's a special place to be if you're a cycling fan in the spring. It's just there's something as a sort of frisson in the air. It's a great place to be, but they've never, at least until recently, had top women's cyclists, a lot of them, as they do in the men's peloton. And you just, you know, Jolien was there, and now we have Lotte Kopecky, but we have a few other women coming through, and I think that's fantastic that at last we have a good number of promising and some already promised, they've already proved themselves at the top of the sport, women coming through and just showing that country the worth of their female riders. Oh, we have a bit of a stampede to the dairy there. I have a feeling the girls off in the field there might have not have done much good for a carbon fibre frame. Road narrows. You can see the marshals just narrowing it, and they've got the signs as well saying that the road is narrowing. Barnes, hugely experienced, checks over his shoulder. Make sure everyone's in the right place.
Yeah, this is also a very crucial part, as you can eat something and drink something before the climb starts.
Yeah, it's a bit of a calm before the storm, isn't it?
Everyone knows what's going to happen next, and they're kind of on the tip of their nerves just to wait who's going to do the next move.
Yeah. Peering through the group, UAE aren't really being forced to do much today. There's no one up the road. They don't have to control the race, and they don't need to control the race. They have the GC. And they have two in the GC, let's face it. With
oh, we have an attack going on.
Okay.
Yeah, UAE immediately.
Yeah, gonna close
immediate
it down.
Response.
Yeah.
With AG Insurance, the usual picture that we've seen the past day.
The usual suspects. Yeah. Yeah. That's I think that's Megan Armitage, isn't it? Heading up the road there.
No, it's Michael Collier.
Oh, is it? And just being closed down by UAE, and UAE aren't going to do anything here.
No, but also Hannah Barnes follows the riders.
Be interesting if she comes through and tries to drive this on. Skylar Schneider there. There's no use sitting on. If they want to animate this, they're going to have to force it. And Fassa Bortolo want to be part of this, and they're just dragging the peloton back. It looks like none of the other teams, Uno X, the US team, AG Insurance, are really interested. It's only Park Hotel, they're always interested in a bit of a scrap, aren't they?
But I guess the girl from Fassa Bortolo, she probably also wanted to join, but didn't realize that she had the whole bunch following.
That's right, yeah.
That's also what drove me crazy in some races, that you try to tag and you actually wanted someone to follow you, but they followed you with the whole bunch in their back wheel.
Yeah.
So
now this is interesting. Look, with UAE just starting to ride, maybe Schneider's starting to ride. Where's the UAE rider gone? She's there. I think, was that Trevisi, or is it? It's not Trevisi.
no, it isn't.
It's Pellegrini, I think. But still, they're not going to get away here, aren't they? They've really got to nail it if they want to get away now.
Yeah.
You can see the AG Insurance riders just on the radio asking for a bit of advice, I imagine. But Wasserbortolo have brought this back. And we're all back together. And Christine just sat on the wheel the whole way.
Yeah.
Kohler. Now this is the start, isn't it? This is where they come onto the circuit, I think.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
This is now on the local circuit. Since Elsy Jacobs always had a prologue as a first stage, they did one edition, which was my last race, which was the prologue in Kohler. So that was basically just uphill.
That's right. Won by Demi Vollering.
Vollering, yeah. Was in 2019. It's the last time I rode Elsy Jacobs.
And the commentary box was right by the school, wasn't it, in the village, just around the corner here. Yeah. Nothing this time round. I believe there's an intermediate sprint just coming up on this circuit. Yeah, with 65 kilometres done and 50 to go, there's an intermediate sprint, and then we have the final laps. I would not want to be taking a motorbike like that through there. Bertizzolo, is she going for it? No, she's just positioning herself, I think. The Grand Est Commugi La Fabrique team sort of gathered at the back there. On the right, just trying to move up, I think. This is the climb, isn't it?
This is the climb,
Tell me about this climb.
I hated it as a kid. No, it's now you think, okay, it's going to be soon over, but then you turn left, and then you see that there's still some way to go to the top. Yeah, I just don't like it because, as I just said, you think it's over, but it's tricking you, you know.
Drags on.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a gel there for Wollaston. 55 k's to go, so certainly gel time and not solids time, isn't it?
Yeah, especially also considering that it's a bit hotter today.
Yeah.
That also plays a role in choosing which nutrition you're going to have during the race.
So tell me about her being on the front here, good or bad? Because we talk about, no one wants to take the wind on their face until the last moment, but we're on a climb here. It doesn't really matter,
exactly.
Does it?
It can be that there is some wind on the climb, as we will, at the top of the climb, you will be on a road with only fields around, so it will be quite windy situation if there is wind. So it's not too bad to be in the front, so you can immediately be in the right position if, I'd say, an echelon is happening, or if a rider which is quite fatigued already leaves a gap, and then you're stuck behind the gap, and then you need to close it yourself. So it's, there's always an up and down side. So what's now, do you wait for your luck and just think that nothing's going to happen and no gaps opening, or are you going to make sure that you're going to be ready if something's going to happen, and then you can, you can react directly?
I mean, there's a decent. It's not a wind as such. It's more a breeze, isn't there? That's coming across the riders.
Yeah.
And it's from the east, so it won't be a warm one, but it's about 17 to 20 kilometres. So.
It could, it could play a role.
It could play a role. It'll be on their left shoulder as they're just coming out into the open here through the trees. It still drags on, doesn't it? I mean, it's not a climb now, but it drags, doesn't it? At about sort of 1 or 2%. You haven't got that.
But I think it will play a bigger role once the race gets faster, and if they ascend faster and then they keep up the pace at the top, and I think then it will have a bigger effect than now. In the bunch it's quite easy, but sometimes you also go, for example, now we see Bastianelli in the front row. Sometimes you just also want to avoid any crash, because that's also a bigger issue with smaller teams being on the start and not being used to the big bunches. And there you can just see that they're probably not used to ride that close or at such a high speed in the bunch. That you can see as well, because, for example, if you ride a World Tour race and there are only World Tour teams and only a few UCI teams invited, there's a complete different level on the technical side, that they have more bunch skills and that they're more confident. And especially in the women's cycle, you can see that some girls just struggle with, for example, if a rider gets too close to them, then they start shaking or being a bit unsure on the bike. Yeah.
Saw Trevisi drop Bastianelli off at the front. But there's been a conversation between Bastianelli and the Fassa Bortolo rider, and now the Fassa Bortolo rider is on the radio.
Yeah.
And Bastianelli is the same nationality as the Fassa Bortolo team. I wonder if there's a bit of chat about, we'll let you go up the road. I mean, last year was run by a breakaway. This stage here, won by Veronica Ewers from EF Tibco SVB even, with Bastianelli bringing the bunch home, and it made it quite close in the end last year. It was a close GC.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can remember the finish, because they had to wait for a few minutes until the official result was out, because of the winning seconds that she won. It was not really clear who in the end won the GC.
Yeah, I was quite satisfied that Bastianelli had kept the GC lead.
Yeah.
Which is an amazing thing to have got right, because I'm one of the worst people at maths on the planet. Which is nothing to be proud of, but it just doesn't appeal to my brain.
No, but I have to say, I'm always happy when there's an underdog winning.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Or because it can get quite boring if they're always the same favourites who win. So yeah.
Well, on that subject, what do you think about the dominance of SD Works through this classic season, with Kopecky, with Lorena Vibis, with Demi Vollering? Good or bad for the sport that one team are winning everything? I mean, they haven't won everything, but they've certainly dominated the spring. Yeah,
well, honestly, I have to say, I got quite bored while watching those races, because it's you know what's going to happen, and you know that if one team is so dominant that there is no other team who can play the same cards. It's quite boring from a spectator perspective, but of course, I mean, the performances that Demi Vollering just showed in the 3 Ardennes Classics, they're nearly supernatural. Yeah. It was really surprising to see her dominance, especially also the finish at Mur de Huy, where she just
rode everyone off her. I've never seen that.
It's unbelievable. But then in the end, I'm always happy to see an underdog winning. So, for example, Alison Jackson is not an underdog, but still you're not used that she's the leader of the team. She's more like a domestique and really one of the major helpers in the team. And seeing her win such a monument, it's for me that was satisfying.
Fabulous, wasn't it?
Yeah. I was really happy.
And I've never been much of a dancer, but I love a celebration, you know, just joy. I mean, there has to be some joy in sport.
Yes.
It can't all be mechanical and just
I mean, most riders finishing Paris-Roubaix, they just fall off the bike and she just starts dancing. She must have kept that small energy left for a celebration dance.
She's been on a lot of teams over the years, Alison Jackson. I mean, I remember speaking to her at the Giro, and she was on one of the Italian teams way back then. The rumble of all the bikes going past us, the finish line here in Garnich. So they're not too far away, about 1,200 meters away from coming through the finish line. And those buildings you can see at the top of your screen are in fact Garnich. I think.
Yes. No, you're right.
Says the man who doesn't know where he is.
Well, you're in Luxembourg, that's for sure.
Yeah. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
I keep banging on about this, folks, but, you know, all the blossom on the trees. Is there anywhere better to be? The smoke drifting out, the barbecue just up the way. I can see someone out the window eating something. Here we go for the sprint for the intermediate. Looks like Bastianelli, Wollaston, Wollaston. Okay.
Well, interesting.
So 3, 2, 1 is the wow. That I think that's quite interesting. So Wollaston has cut the deficit by 1 second, so is now second on GC by just 4 seconds.
Well, then she has a really realistic chance to actually win.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting with doing the math.
Yeah.
You know, Skylar Schneider going through.
Now, tell us about this little dig that comes out of the village here, because I think it's thoroughly unpleasant. Because it narrows, it gets super narrow in here. There was a bit of a crash here last year, but equally, it's actually quite steep in bits, isn't it? And then it comes out and it's super windswept.
Yeah, so going up that climb that they are currently riding on, it's I'd say it's 1.5 cars wide, so it's not really wide. It's narrow, it's quite steep, and yeah, after I'd say the GPM climb, followed by a road open to the field. It's also that you need to work going then into a descent to the finish, and immediately going back uphill where they're now. It's quite tough. There's not really much time to recover, because also for the descents, for example, now after that small climb you have a descent which is again quite narrow with a lot of turns, so you need to stay concentrated. And it's as they will climb up 5 times, it's or now 4 times. It's quite tough. It's as I said yesterday, it's going to show who has recovered best from yesterday in general, and also concentration-wise, it's a very challenging course. Yeah, first rider struggling, you can just see. I mean, it's always hard to see the actual gradient on the screen. It is quite steep, but it gets a bit steeper at the end. But those are exactly those moments where it's just hard to follow, and yeah, you maybe gonna do that 1 or 2 laps, but then you're just gonna be so fatigued that it's gonna be impossible. You know, there is a French wording for that scenario. It's called chasse patate.
Yeah, I've heard that one. Yeah.
And that's exactly what those riders are playing.
Yeah. Late drink grab there from one of the AG Insurance riders, Martin Goossens. But it's all together here. The rider in the yellow there, I believe, is Hannah Ludwig.
Yes.
Looking like she's breathing quite heavily. it's a kind of, but it certainly adds spice, doesn't it? That climb really adds spice to this circuit, because it's somewhere where you can get away, isn't it? It's somewhere where you can create a smaller group, which you can then create an even smaller group on the climb, because it's a super punchy circuit. It's only 10K, isn't it? And it's a very punchy circuit.
Because back in the days, there has also been a prize up on that climb.
Yes.
And so they alternated between that. So for one lap there was a prize, and the next lap the prize was on the Rebierge. So that actually made the race even more intense. Yeah.
Here we go. We're going to get the results here of the intermediate sprint, but I think it's even clear from that picture. Wollaston in first, Bastianelli, Geritza, Ariana Fidanza and Basilico. And now we have the Norwegian champion on the front of the race, and this descent is fast, narrow and smooth. Super fast, isn't it? Because that's about 10%, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I think my top speed there was like around 70k an hour.
Right.
So
okay.
it's quite steep.
Yeah.
And as you can see, there are a lot of turns, so you really need to be concentrated. Yeah. And then at the end of that descent, you have a 180-degree turn.
That's right. It's a dead turn, isn't it? Yeah. Norwegian champion who just sort of instigated this little move is Malin Eriksson from the Norwegian national team. Rides with Juela Chevelmere. And she's raced with a whole load of Dutch and Belgian and even Norwegian club level teams for some time now, for a fair few years, 8-9 years. Here's that turn that Claire was just talking about. I think we had a bit of an off there. Someone came off there last year. But this is the time, isn't it, to put the pressure on and try and get rid of some of those riders that you don't want in the race. That, if you think, I mean, it's a difficult prospect. Fernanda Yapura there from the team Grand Est Comugi La Fabrique team. She's an Argentinian, 24 years old. No professional wins, but she's been around for some time. She's been on the World Cycling Team and World Cycling Centre team, and joined the French team this year. And now the calm after the small shower kind of thing, as opposed to a storm. There's a lot of hard breathing going on, isn't there?
Yeah.
Is that Fidanza having a chat there in the middle of the two CERATIZIT riders who just disappeared off your screen?
Yeah, they're
Sophie Wright there, just having a chat
with the Swiss rider.
Yeah.
Christina has no one to chat with.
The team we've not talked about is the ARA Skip Capital team. You can see bang in the middle of the screen, Australian squad doing a little block of racing over here in Europe. And they've started here with 6 riders. Rachel Wales, Isabel Carnes, Alex Martin Wallace, who I believe is didn't start today, Alicia Wells, Sophie Edwards and Ali Anderson.
When you look at the left on the screen on the left, you can see Femke Geritz. She's also, well, she's a rider from Park Hotel, but she's probably one of those that's going to develop into a really good rider that no one really has on the radar. But you can always find her in the final result being in the top 10. So she's also probably one of those who exactly knows how to be best protected and. Yeah, she's just really good at what she's doing. I mean, being regularly top 10 results, that's a good sign. And as we already discussed yesterday about the riders that Park Hotel actually developed, who are now big names in the scene.
Perhaps we can see, Geert's disappearing onto SD Works next year, kind of thing. You know?
Yeah, maybe, or DSM or any other World Tour team. But if she's going to continue like that with that kind of result, it's a very promising future. Yeah,
she wore the polka dot jersey at the Tour de France Femmes last year.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Right up until Annemiek van Vleuten stole it off. I stole it off her. That's just a complete ridiculous word to use. Won it off her in the Alsace.
How do you think that Annemiek's retirement is going to influence the whole peloton? I mean,
I think personally, from a variety, that bottle did not make it off the road and bounced back in, and luckily it's not knocked anyone off the road, off the bikes yet. I don't want her to be replaced with another single dominant rider. I think our sport, is it ours? Is it mine? The sport, the women's professional road racing is still developing, and people are interested in the stories, but they want to hear stories, not one story of one rider. And I think it's important that we have sufficient depth in order that we don't see what we've just seen in the Ardennes, and that is Demi Vollering winning all the big races.
Yeah.
As much as I like her, as much as I like the team, we want to see punch-ups between the best riders in the world. We want to see them fighting with each other, I don't actually mean punch-ups, but what I mean is we want to see grand contests between near equals. We don't want to see one dominant rider. We don't want to see Demi Vollering taking the place of Annemiek.
No, definitely not. I mean, the past few years, I think there was quite a huge development in terms of cycling being a team sport, especially in women's cycling, as you say, Annemiek van Vleuten being such a dominant rider, and for example also Anna van der Breggen was also such a dominant rider. Because they were so dominant, you could actually say it was more an individual sport, even though it wasn't. But now it's better represented as being a team sport.
That's a really good point, because I think Vollering only won what she won because of
the team.
I mean, she's an outstanding athlete. There's no question. But SD Works are so strong that they had it. Whereas perhaps last year you would say that from what we could see on TV, that Annemiek did, and this is unfair to her Movistar teammates, and it's unfair to the Mitchelton Scott teammates beforehand, but she was so much ahead of everyone else that she could almost do it on her own. But what drove the spring was SD Works' ability to play off each other and not care who won, kind of thing. And that's what made it interesting this spring for me. I'll watch any old bike race really and enjoy it most of the time, and so that's what made it interesting, and will continue to make it interesting, because I don't think Vollering is that far ahead as we saw Annemiek van Vleuten last year.
But also considering I'd say the the presentation that Annemiek is doing, I'd say on Strava, for example, because everyone knows that she's training so much, that her training is so intense, and she used to go, or she's still going, like during her breaks, she's immediately traveling to Tenerife. And she's training so much during the whole year. But it's kind of funny to see that a lot of female riders are now start to going to Tenerife.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we always said between me and my coach, Annemiek is still such a strong rider because she's simply training for it.
Yeah.
And we always say, train like a man, race like a man. So that's what we say, and it's not coming from nothing that you're so strong. I mean, it's the end result of hard training, which is paying off.
She's an incredibly focused woman.
Yeah, definitely.
And she's tried to. She has said on many occasions, I do have a life off the bike, and she keeps that very much to herself. I think when you look at socials, good on her, because this is none of my business.
Yeah.
But she is incredibly focused. I've found at a couple of Giri would be the word. There's more than one Giros, more than one Giro. A couple of Giri, when she goes and warms down and she does not want to speak to you, even if your job is to interview her, and the instruction from the people that are paying you to be there is to interview her. She's focused, and she's focused. And I can't remember which year it was. 18, I think, and it was such hard work to interview her during the race. And the minute it finished, down near Naples that year, and I think she was third that year. She'd got caught out in the crosswinds on one of the stages. The minute it finished, when I say the minute, I mean actually, her whole manner changed, and her level of focus is absolutely extreme. And it's the same with Marianne Vos, and I think what you're saying, it's that level of focus that gives athletes of any gender their superiority. Yeah, we look at Pogacar on the TV, and he's always playing a game that and seems super happy, and he's always respectful to his opponents. There's no way he's not focused.
Also talking about the age that Annemiek already has.
Yeah.
I mean, to be that professional at that age, you need to focus.
Yeah.
So
I gave up being professional in my 20s.
Well, me too.
Yeah, but in life, in anything. But no, to have the motivation to train as hard as she does, it is admirable in the extreme. But other riders are doing the same now. They're realising what they need to do to achieve, and they're happy to make the sacrifice. And that will make our sport more and more entertaining. The sport that you and I love. And hopefully all you guys that are listening in anyway. The race developing, coming round for another cross of the line with 40 kilometres they'll have left to go when they cross the line just behind us here in Garnich. Peloton all together. Still, I think we're going to start seeing some action on these little climbs soon. I think some teams will want to make a difference here. I would suggest perhaps Uno X want to make a little bit of a... they want to make a difference in order that Costa can move up the standings. Perhaps CERATIZIT 2. Bastianelli and her UAE team will be quite happy. And I wonder if Wollaston looks perhaps a little bit tired, and whether or not AG Insurance Soudal Quickstep will want to up the pace here. You can see Carbonari just on as the peloton went out of the picture there. They're just out of the saddle, just keeping that pace high. We don't want anything to go, I think, is what they're saying. Costa just out of position there. She'll want to move up before we hit the little climb, won't she? She won't. If something does happen, she won't want to be caught out. But she's also not. She's not a stupid rider. She's a proper clever rider, isn't she? fantastic to see ARA Skip Capital bang right in the front of the peloton for virtually the entire lap they've been there. Look, we're here. And the road furniture always making riding in Europe so difficult, isn't it? You've got to switch your line, you've got to know where it is. I mean, it's easier on a circuit like this, but now if you look closely, you'll see that UAE ADQ are on two different coloured bikes.
Yep. But it's only the champion which has a white one. It's a Latvian champion.
Is she the only one on the white, is she?
I guess so.
Because when I had a look yesterday, there was some on Campagnolo and some on Shimano.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
See Bertizzolo there on the black bike. I think that's certainly Campag, as we say in England. Campag. Campy, as the Americans say.
Yeah, we say Kampa.
Okay, yeah. I can't afford it, but I love Campag. I just love it. It looks good.
Yeah, it's iconic.
And it works better, I think. Well, I've never seen, in mechanical at least, I've never seen, been unable to understand why you want to use your brake lever as to shift. I just can't understand it.
But I'm sure that Kampa is working properly, but it needs to be set up properly. Because that's what most people struggle with, to have the first proper
getting
setup.
it right, yeah.
Because once it's all good, then it works fine.
I've never used their EPS. I have Di2 on one bike, Shimano Di2 on one bike, and it is absolutely outstanding, I've got to say. And I recently tried a gravel bike with the SRAM étape AXS on, and that really, really impressed me.
Yeah. I now had, since my retirement, I got a new bike, and it's by far the best bike that I've ever had in my life.
Is it really?
So I had a Liv Langma with the new Dura-Ace Di2, 12-speed, and Cadex wheels, so they're super, super light wheels. And the bike was 6.6 kilos. It was like a Ferrari.
Yeah.
It was amazing. The quality was absolutely fantastic. And it's by far the best bike that I've ridden.
Really?
Because when you're in smaller teams, they most often don't really have the budget to actually afford high-end bikes.
Yeah.
And the bike companies most often only sponsor like the World Tour teams. So the smaller teams actually need to buy the bikes. And because they have a tight budget, they normally go for the middle-range bikes. So during my last seasons, I rode on mechanical Shimano. So, I mean, it works. And the electric one is...
Bertizzolo telling the camera bike to go away.
So, yeah. So
yeah, I don't think I've ever even touched Dura-Ace.
Yeah, me neither until that book. But what I think is a great advantage for electric shifting is when it's raining and you have frozen fingers.
Yes.
You only need to tap on a button and it's shifting. Because with the mechanical, and you have to really push the lever all the way through, it's really hard.
The talk of shifting reminds me of that moment of desperation in any cyclist's life, when you're going uphill and you're thinking, I must, please Lord, have one more sprocket, and you haven't. And you're pressing or pushing the lever, and it's not there, it's not going to get any easier, now it's time to dig in.
Or you have the same realization, and then you check out that the battery has run out.
Oh, yeah, well...
and you're stuck in the middle cassette.
Yeah, I got the bike I have Di2 on, I got that out this week, and I thought, I'll go for a ride, I'll take that out. I haven't ridden it hardly at all since the year before last. And it was flat. And I was happy I didn't get up the road, because I would have come back and put it away and then just gone and had a shower. Oh,
Yeah.
I've gone out again. Mind you, you can go without gears where I live, really. It's so flat. That's a fantastic shot. You can see just how steep that is. And the pace looks pretty high there. Wollaston just out the saddle, trying to make sure she's in the right place at the right time. And we're coming down to that dead turn, aren't we? Just by the cows. Oh, that's a horrible turn, isn't it? With the little jink right before the hard left. Skylar Schneider back on the front. Anna Trevisi, I think that is in second wheel. And then the massed ranks of AG Insurance, Sudal Quickstep, with the ever-present Christy Measures. There you go, an attack here. I think that's Heidi France on the right-hand side, going for it up this climb. Next G won't let her go. Massive, massive push there from Bertie Zolo to get on the wheel and get after it. And CERATIZIT WNT. I don't think we're going to see anything allowed to go here. 30, just sort of 36 kilometres left to go. And I have a feeling this is going to stay all together. You know, the effort is being put in to try and break it, but there are plenty of teams that don't want this to go. I think that's Artzufi, isn't it, there from just out picture from CERATIZIT WNT. We'll just shift down to the little ring, I think, there from the Norwegian rider. Bertie Zolo policing the front for her team leader, who is in the CERATIZIT yellow jersey. Just that little bit you see her poke her head out there, and then she'll hide back in someone's wheel.
There's points to collect again for the mountain prize, but obviously it has already been decided.
They've all gone up the road, haven't they? They're all. And you can see that there is a break in the bunch there, but there's a lot of vehicles come. We're pretty well spread, but I think these riders will come back once we get over the top, unless there's any increase in wind. But just looking out of our window, which by the way fell out just before we came on air, I can see a wind turbine and it's slowly going round. I don't think there's sufficient wind for anyone to bring about any meaningful gutter action.
Yeah, the rider from Arkea is probably the one from the breakaway.
Yeah. Yeah, it is Marie-Morgane Le Dunf.
Nina Berton leading the pack.
I think she's just looking for more points, is she?
Yeah.
Just have them anyway. Even though she's won it now, will people let her have that, do you think? Or will people want points? Points mean prizes, after all.
Maybe. I think the other places are quite tight, so there would be a possibility to maybe get second or third.
Number 66 is Marta Goossens. We've seen her off the back. She's clearly not feeling quite as good as she was, because she was quite present late in the race yesterday. She's clearly not feeling as good as she was. This is a big effort from, a massive effort, isn't it, from Berton. It's not just about gaining more points she doesn't need. This is about thinning the bunch out, isn't it, for her team?
Yeah. I mean, she also said yesterday in the post-race interview that she collected her points, so she achieved the goal that she set for herself, and then she completely went back into the task of helping her team as the most as possible. So she's a team player in that sense.
Another little move here from Afasa Bortolo, and I just got the feeling that Uno X were positioning themselves to up the pace. on the right-hand side of your screens, and now they're having to defend this. But if I were them, I'd leave that to UAE. You can have that. You can do the work. You want to keep it together. But no, they're up for it. They're up for keeping that pace high. Every one of the AG Insurance riders, you can just see halfway down that group, they're all there. I think all 6 are there. Oh no, you've got Roostens off the back, haven't we? Another attack here from Uno X. I think that's Mia Ottestad. Anna Trevisi now policing that on the front. And I think that's Artsufi, isn't it? The CERATIZIT rider, third wheel. And the just unbelievable positioning from Merjus there, like fifth wheel there. There's another attack just going out of shot. This is Uno X. Uno X are definitely up to something here. They're just digs, whether they're trying to take a group up the front or whether they're trying up the road or whether they're trying to thin the bunch out. It seems that the US team are up for some fun and games as well. Segolène Thomas there, number 144 from the Rondest Comugi La Fabrique team. A little bit of a gap there from those leading groups, so that's a big effort being put in on the front of the bunch. Oh, and Costa way out of position. She needs to be further up, and so is Bastianelli. Just see her on the right to the rear here. And even Merjus slightly further back than we've seen her all weekend. Just bobbing out the saddle there, a couple of pedal strokes out the saddle. As you were, all back to normal, pace is eased, nothing's going up the road. And that second peloton, if you like, you can just see at the back of your pictures, here they are now. Just struggling to get on. Those vehicles there, they're going to have to pull into the, there you go now. Crikey. This is as if I've read the script.
But exactly those are the hard moments, because once you're back in the bunch, the uphill starts again.
Yeah, that's right.
So you really do not have any moments to recover.
Costa back in position there, just gone out of picture. The American team on the front, and Stiasny from Phoenix to Garnich just moving up. Got the word in her ear, we need you at the front, we need some pace, please.
I think the tactical phase slowly starts to begin.
Yeah, yeah. It's good to see a bit of Stiasny on the front. You know, she's a young woman, and she needs to develop her bunch skills, and she's absolutely tiny.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's a pure climber, and it's good. She's going to have to learn these skills if she's going to keep a career in the pro peloton up. She's going to have these skills, and so she's going about learning them, isn't she?
Yeah.
And we can all learn something.
Yeah, and sometimes also, depending on the crash you have, you start to have some doubts on your skills, and you need to regain them. So you're in a constant development of your skills.
Though I do think that's the same with anything in life. The moment you think you know it all, you should either be caught up or retire. Caught out, rather, or retire. In anything you do.
Yeah.
Carbonari back on the front, keeping the pace high.
It's all very controlled.
It's very controlled, isn't it?
Not really happening much.
Yeah. And you'll see that some of the team parking just on the left.
See all the drop riders coming back, just happy that it's not going too fast.
There you go. There's the UAE team buses, and there's another parking area on the left as well. UAE just taking control here, taking it across the line. And AG Insurance coming through as well. Now, if AG Insurance want to win the GC with Wollaston, they are going to have to win the sprint.
Yeah.
Coming past us at the finish. Three laps to go. If you just look on the right of your screen, you can see.
I just heard that the commentator here, the local commentator, said that the bunch is only 60 people.
Right.
And they've started with 79. So 19 people have already stopped.
Or been pulled.
Or being pulled, yeah.
I think Carbonari might have misunderstood what the Norwegian rider was going to do then. The Norwegian rider was trying to get up to get a drink, and actually she thought she was attacking. She did a big job yesterday, didn't she, Carbonari?
Yes.
She had a really good day out. Oh.
Chain drop. And Trevisi leading the pack. You can see also the waste on the ground is probably one of the official waste zones.
Yeah.
As a rider, you need to be very careful that you respect those rules. I mean, that's also a kind of part of the game, since the green aspect has become much more present. I once wrote a report at university about Tour de France and the waste at the Tour de France. So
Barnes looks like maybe she's going to climb off. Attack. Bertizzolo, I think. Measures right on her wheel, and that's the German rider from Uno X on her wheel. Ludwig, yeah.
WNT riders just behind.
Yeah, that's Azzuffi.
Kerbaol and Fidanza is further back. And we can see now the yellow jersey
slipping backwards.
Yeah.
I wonder what the tactic is here, because why try and take a group away? Is Bastianelli not feeling well? You've got Gasparini just on the back of this group, though. So she's only 6 seconds down, I think. So that could be the tactic, because Wollaston's nowhere near.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got Costa coming across. The yellow jersey is coming across. This is a big move, and it's the first time we've seen UAE control the race, but we haven't seen them attack the race, and that's the first time they've actually attacked them.
Yeah, you can see also the group actively working to stay away.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not too bad, the ratio, though. 3 WNT CERATIZIT riders.
That's right.
And plus 2 UAE riders.
At some stage, someone's going to look to them to do some work.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Fidanza, who started the day.
Another attack by Kerbal.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to be in your biggest gear here, aren't you? Because you're coming down there. You're going to be in...
That's a lot of work from Christine.
Yeah. But so many of the CERATIZIT riders there, they can take advantage of this.
Yeah.
And is Fidanza among those? Can't see Bastianelli. Now, so Bastianelli is there.
Yeah.
She's in that group.
Second group,
Yeah.
There is Fidanza, the taller WNT rider, and then Costa behind. Oh, that's now the hard part with all the small groups.
Yeah. I know, you've got to work harder to try and get back, haven't you, the smaller the group. And these guys are way off the back. You can just see what wind we have and those 3 wind turbines blowing in the top left of your picture. Still keeping the pace up is CERATIZIT WNT. We've got this group. I think that other group will come back. But if they keep the pressure on over the climb, you just never know. Gasparini there in third, fourth wheel, the UAE rider. They could be going for her, and she could quite easily take the GC if they can stay away, starting the day 7 seconds down. We don't know what happened at the first intermediate sprint. We didn't get the timings for that.
Now, Megan Armitage from Arkea and...
just got across, has she?
Yeah, and me Uttestad as well. From Uno X.
Yeah, so Costa has someone to give her a hand now. But Gasparini must be thinking, I'm in here, because she can quite happily do what she did yesterday. I have the yellow jersey in the group behind. I'm not going to work.
Yeah.
But why would you work when there are 3 from one team?
Yeah.
Now this is where it goes.
You can see the yellow jersey in the back.
Yeah. She's on Wollaston. I don't blame her for being on Wollaston, but we saw what Wollaston can do yesterday, can't we? As she came across. But this will be defensive from Bastianelli, as she's just going to sit on Wollaston and let Wollaston use as much energy as she can to get back onto this group. But this is a concerted effort. But she was out of position, and this is what we were talking about, isn't it? You have to be attentive on your position at all times in order that when this happens, she's going to get back on. We can see that. But when this happens, you have to be in a position. So here, I think CERATIZIT need to be doing something in order to keep the pace in this group up.
Would you say that maybe Wollaston has a more naive racing style as she's younger? Because, for example, now with Bastianelli, I mean, she's been in the peloton for, I'd say, for more than a decade. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and she's probably much more tactical than Wollaston is. But I wouldn't say that the being the naive rider is the downside, because sometimes it makes you more courageous.
Yeah. I wonder if Bastianelli has said we need to make this move to try and get rid of her.
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
Because she's not feeling good.
Yeah. Now Wollaston is alone.
Yes, that's right. And she's just made a big effort on the start of this climb, hasn't she? To get she goes off the back here, they're in trouble. Artsufi just swings off. What's going to happen? Oh, this other group's going to come back over the top, I think. They probably only got maybe 8-9 seconds behind.
But we know from yesterday that Wollaston can handle the effort.
She can handle the effort, yeah.
She bridged yesterday from one group to the other, and still got a superb result in the final sprint. So
yeah.
It's an interesting race now.
Yeah. Look at them all looking around. Well, who's Majerus looking for? She's got no one to help her out. She's got to play a very, very defensive game.
Crash.
Oh, shit. Oh, pardon me. Sorry, folks. Hate seeing people fall off. Ludwig now on the front. Pardon my language, folks. Hate seeing people. Whenever you fall off, you know how much it hurts, don't you? When you've fallen off a bicycle, I think you might know best. Ludwig now putting the pace on, keeping that pace on for Uno X, and now that group just round the bend.
Yeah, I think Majerus just look back to see if it makes sense to
keep going.
Invest energy. Yeah.
Fassa Bortolo represented there. Now CERATIZIT coming through with that's Ottestad, isn't it? She looks like she's absolutely hanging on for grim death there. So now CERATIZIT going to be looking to Ludwig for support to keep this group away. But it doesn't seem to be much effort going on. You've got Park Hotel just, or someone on the radio there, and just lost control.
Oh, she caught the ditch.
Yeah.
But now it's interesting to see who's chasing behind.
Yeah, that's right. There was a rider from Park Hotel just getting on the radio for some advice. I don't know if this is coming back or not. It's so difficult to tell. And with the gap is foreshortened, isn't it, by the television lens. So coming into the final 23 kilometres of this, the 15th edition of the CERATIZIT Festival, Elsy Jacobs. We are in a position where we have no idea who's going to win the general classification. I think if you wanted me to bet on it, I'd say Bastianelli, but we still don't know. This is a really dynamic race, and that's what we want. There's a lot going on here. We've got Uno X here working for Anushka Costa, who started the day 8 seconds behind the general classification. We've also got CERATIZIT WNT, who are working here for Ariana Fidanza, who started at 13 seconds. It's going to be very difficult for her to take the general classification. But we also have Ali Wollaston in that group, in the white Young Riders jersey, just sneaking up the right-hand side of the group with number 61. And she also is really close on GC. After taking more points than Bastianelli in the intermediate sprint we saw, she's at 4 seconds. So we really don't know what's going to happen.
For me, it looks like AG Insurance and Park Hotel are chasing. Which does not really make sense, because why would Wollaston have spent that much energy to go
if she was going to be brought back by her teammates, and it's that's one of the UAE riders just coming back, and you've got AG Insurance coming back en masse. Another CERATIZIT rider in Nina Berton coming back. Le Levita in the yellow, green and red jersey of the Lithuanian champion. And Petra Stiasny on the back here of this group. So we've now got a group of, 25, 30 riders, more coming back with more AG Insurance, Soudal Quick-Step riders coming back, and looking for some advice there. CERATIZIT just communicating with the rest of the team. You saw a teammate also reach for the button to talk on her radio. It's a constant communication. I love it. That's, to be good at anything, you have to communicate. It's fantastic.
We see also Tirreni rider, which is still there.
Yeah. Number 121 is Hayley Preen. 24-year-old South African. Who was second in the time trial, the South African National Time Trial Championships earlier this year, and fourth in the road race. That's just about her racing for this year, other than yesterday's stage. She was she DNF'd at Ronde Mouscron recently. Nice little bunny hop there from the AG. Let's see what the commissaires say about that, shall we? Can I come back, please? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, is the little train set up for us then?
Yep, yep. And has she got her whole... She's got 4 teammates there now.
Yeah. I think we saw Goossens.
Yeah,
being
we saw
dropped
it, off
earlier
the
in-
back,
yeah,
didn't we? Yeah. Yeah. I do like just how well they work as a team.
Yeah, yeah.
That
I
they-
just wanted to say that as well.
Yeah. We said yesterday, didn't we? It's the only racing sport where the team are actually working. Individual human members of a team are working. You know, that makes for such an interesting dynamic.
But also, as interviewing Jolene yesterday, and she telling us about what they do as a team to make it more fun and just show the joy of cycling as well to their pro cyclists riding for the team. But I'm pretty sure that must have something to do with how good their teamwork is.
Yeah.
It's just building up their teamwork already in the base camps and doing teamwork activities just also off the bike to bring you closer on a personal level.
And it's not long since teamwork wasn't really a possibility in the women's peloton because everyone was fending for themselves, and now the sport is that much more professional. You can have riders whose job is never to win. They don't need to win. All they need to do is work for the team.
Exactly.
And that is the sport is. I know there's work to do, but the sport is much improved from when I started working in it.
Well, luckily. Imagine it would not
If it
have...
hadn't been, yeah, that's right, yeah. You can see Fassa Bortolo up the right-hand side of the peloton, on the right-hand side of the road as they look. The left as you look at the screen there. Nice little train of 3 women. With Christine Majerus infiltrating the Uno X team. 20 kilometres to go now.
Yeah, 38 riders left in the front group. But also seeing smaller teams now with the race restrictions, or in general with UCI races, so it makes it harder for smaller teams to actually participate. So when I started abroad, when I was a junior, I used to join the club teams because there were much fewer UCI teams back in the days, and club teams were still allowed to race UCI teams, but now they have restricted the number of club teams which can participate. So basically what has happened is the smaller teams, so the club teams, actually made everything in their power to afford the UCI license.
Yes.
To actually being able to still participate at those races. But in general, it has not professionalized then. So they're still the same structures of teams. Only the big and main teams have professionalized in that sense.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
And so the smaller teams, they have the label UCI Continental Women's Team, but in general, the structure and the ideas and stuff have not followed along. So that kind of gap is constantly growing because the smaller teams stay small and the bigger teams just continue growing, which makes it harder for younger riders to actually make the jump.
Yeah, and you can see that looking at a team like Torelli. An attack here from Majerus. Bertizzola on the wheel. Majerus perhaps thinking that there's an opportunity here to break the race up, and we know what a time trialist is. We know what an engine she has.
Yeah, she's actually such a punchy rider.
There's a little gap. If Artufi would come over, there's maybe a chance, but AG Insurance aren't going to let that go. Another UAE. She's got to keep the effort in. Costa just out of the saddle now into a harder gear, bringing this gap across. Gasparini just getting across, and that can kill any move because she's third on GC. But I wonder where Wollaston is. Are they putting her in trouble? Little gap for 4 women now. Costa. 3 Uno X's. You've got Bastianelli in that chasing group, and I do think that Wollaston is in that chasing group just behind the Uno X group.
Yeah, Gasparini leaving out turns, so...
Yeah, there you can see Wollaston there in the white jersey. I mean, it's very little change from her national champions jersey, is it?
Yeah. But, I mean, that's probably one of the advantages to recognize her. But then you can also see she may, as she's very young, she may need some years of wisdom, that she's not like the one that needs to close down all the gaps.
Yes.
Because that's what we can clearly see. She's not afraid of just going out and closing down the gaps, but why not?
But it does make for entertaining racing.
Yes. Of course, we need those riders.
Yeah.
But still, it's. I think that comes with the years of experience and wisdom.
Of course, and she's
she's very young.
Yeah, with that wisdom, she's not going to be in the wrong place, is she?
Yeah.
And more miles under her legs. Nina Berton, halfway down in the polka dot jersey. It's a good race from her. How would you assess her weekend, Nina's?
I think it was successful because I had a chat this morning with Dirk, so the DS of WNT, and he told me that it was a personal goal of Nina, and she had stuck that in her head that she wants to win the mountain prize. So I guess for her it was quite successful.
Absolutely.
And in general it was also good for her to gain confidence in that sense, and to show everyone that she can also manage the unspoken pressure of racing in your home country. Yeah, it's very stretched out.
It is very
also
stretched
the groups
out.
behind there.
Yeah, I wonder if this group might stay away now. What have we got? 20? Maybe 20 women?
But this is the typical scenario you see on that circuit. It's literally elimination every round.
That's right, yeah.
It's every year the same.
Artufi looks over her shoulder, looks for a turn from AG Insurance, but... Oh, and there they go now. Ludwig upping the pace for Uno X. And Phoenix de Koenig trying to close that gap. Got to get past the marshal.
Sophie Wright.
Yeah.
Sophie Wright from Phoenix de Koenig, the first rider
Yeah.
there.
She had her troubles as well recently. Last season, just sort of with a concussion, which is something you wanted to talk about, though only if we have time, really.
Yeah, I mean, I told Owen, or I told you that it's a very personal matter to me, and it's a very common injury in cycling and pro cycling, and it's still. I mean, it gains popularity that it needs to be considered as a very, very severe injury that you can sustain, and it's a risk that you actually have in every crash that you take in. But yeah, most commonly it's not really. Well, now slowly but surely it's gaining attention, but still a lot of times it's just I'd say banalized and not really put too much attention on it, even though it's a very severe injury that you can sustain, just because you cannot see concussion on a scan or on an MRI or on an X-ray, you cannot see it physically, but still, with doing the right testing, it can be detected. And I think most of all the biggest teams, they actually have how do I call it? Have a procedure what they do. So basically, during the winter base camp, they do a baseline test for concussions. So that you, for example, a rider's crashing in March during a race, so they redo the test and they can compare it with the baseline. With such a, I'd say, simple test, because there exist European protocols which are official and which have been approved by medicals, and just by doing that test, and it can give you a guideline, and then you can decide, okay, that rider is okay, has not sustained any concussion, or it needs more medical testing.
Yeah, I know a lot of sports are taking it seriously. When football or soccer, depending on where you are in the world, when football starts to take something with any level of seriousness, you know people are taking it seriously. But certainly my other sporting love is rugby, and that's it's certainly starting to be taken seriously then. And as has happened in American football, that there are players in rugby who are suing the governing body because they've not taken care of their riders. Who rugby is an immense contact sport, and just it's not like cycling where you tend to crash from you get a concussion from crashing. It just happens in the game in rugby.
Yeah.
But I think you have to sometimes take the decision away. Is this Armitage just?
Yes.
Yeah. Armitage having a go here. You have to take the decision away from the rider and the team sometimes. Because we all want to crack on, and don't we?
Yeah.
And sometimes you mustn't.
It gets frustrating, and most often athletes start way too early, and then they get setbacks.
Yeah.
And that's the most frustrating part. But I was surprised because I went to a clinic in Switzerland, so it's called Swiss Concussion Center, and they specialize on concussions because I had such severe symptoms that I needed to go to a specialized hospital, and I asked them, what are the sports that you have most patients? And they said, obviously rugby, but ice hockey is also a sport with a lot of injuries. And then they told me as well that cyclists, they become more and more, because the topic is becoming more and more into the spotlight, and a lot of downhillers, mountain bikers, but then also road and track cyclists. So it's definitely an injury to consider and to take serious.
Talking of cracking on, there's Armitage. She certainly does want to crack on, doesn't she? She certainly wants to make a race of it. And number 86 coming across to her back wheel is Alessia Vigilia from Top Girls Fassa Bortolo. And now is that Marta Lack trying to close that down. And so this will come back together. They can let one or two up the road, but they certainly can't let any more than that. Certainly not with 13.5 kilometres left to race. Lack, looking over his shoulders, really could do without having to close this gap. And now they've certainly put AG Insurance on the back foot. They're having to close the rear. But, you know, should they be leaving this to UAE? And it's back together. But just 13 kilometres left to race of this year's festival, Elsy Jacobs. You know, you could let Vigilia up the road. She is on 53 seconds. Armitage at Arkea is on 51 seconds. And Marta Lack at CERATIZIT is on 118. You could let them go. And give them the stage as long as you can be within 10 seconds, essentially. But the pace has gone right out of this group now. I don't know if anyone's going to come across with just sort of the calm before the inevitable final lap storm.
Yeah.
Still in position is overall leader Marta Bastianelli. Have Nina Berton in the polka dot jersey there, number 21. Anushka Costa, number 33, right on Bastianelli's wheel. Let her go nowhere. Just on the radio to her teammates who are off to her right in that peloton of about 30 riders. Checking she's got a mix right is the AG Insurance Sudal Quick Step bottle, rider giving her bottle a shake. Perhaps get rid of one of those as they cross the finish line. She's got 2 bottles on her bike still at this time of the race. And another attack here. Lovely to see Arkea being so aggressive. And that's Stiassny just going to work on the front of the peloton to bring that back with her super wide bars on that Canyon bike. See a bottle just cascading into the grass on the left-hand side. Stiassny looking over her shoulder for some help. And round come AG Insurance. And this will come back together, I think. But they're struggling to bring this back, that little gap. I mean, I've been in some very, very, very low-level races, and I know that horrendous feeling of desperation when you're trying to get into the wheel to just get some respite from the amount of effort you're having to put in. Anna Trevisi, I think her day is done. I think her work here is done. I think her team leader, Marta Bastianelli, as we go into the final lap, is in a good position to defend her place at the top of the standings.
And we see another attack from the Norwegian champion.
Yeah. Only 2 riders have defended their win in this race over its 15 editions. In 12 and 13, someone, I don't know if you've heard of her, Marianne Vos. Yeah, she did it. And there's a completely anonymous rider that none of us have ever heard of, did it in the 2 ensuing years, 2014 and 15, where Anna van der Breggen defended her title, with Vos finishing second in 14, and Annemiek van Vleuten finishing second in 2015. That was an all-Dutch podium in 15 with Van der Breggen, Van Vleuten and Lucinda Brand finishing third. And the age-old Lucinda Brand joke is that she's on fire. Sorry. Dad jokes. I'm very good at dad jokes, but dad jokes being unfunny. I'm pretty good at those.
I suppose that you know the German word for fire.
Dutch as well.
Yeah.
Marta Lack on the front. Probably the fastest pace we've seen coming past the team parking, coming up towards the final lap of this, the 15th edition of the CERATIZIT Festival. Elsy Jacobs and Arkea are not happy. They do not want to sit down and rest. A brilliant performance from the French team. The bell being rung, you can see in the corner of your picture.
Last ronde.
Last ronda, yeah. And Wollaston out of position again, right at the back of that group. She really needs to be to move up here. Her teammates are up the front, but she needs to be up the front because she cannot afford to be further back.
Yeah.
Or she could lose a second place, let alone any other place. Gasparini is still in there, and Bastianelli is still in there. Lack out of the saddle as they come up towards the left-hand turn, which will take us back onto the small roads of the circuit. Through comes Sophie Wright from Phoenix de Garnich, and moving to the front is the green Skoda green points jersey of Anushka Costa. And we've stopped talking about Christine Majerus. We won't mention her again because she's been in the front five the whole stage, hasn't she? Is that Femke Gerritsen there?
Yeah, on park with her, yes.
Bastianelli getting herself in the right place. Nina Berton probably too far back, but I think her work here is done, essentially. Be a question of helping if she can. And we can see that Wollaston has moved up, sort of mysteriously floated through the bunch, unless she's dropped. But she's not dropped. There she is, just behind her teammate, next to Bastianelli. Bertizzolo just putting an effort in to get towards the front. You can see her gritting her teeth. Marta Lack, Sophie Wright, the two real front runners leading into this final lap. 9 kilometres to go. As someone who comes from not too far from, though she lives in Spain now, someone who comes from not too far from me, it's good to see Sophie Wright at the front of a bike race. She's from Norfolk. I think she's from Holt, which is just outside Norwich, and I played rugby there once for Cambridgeshire versus Norfolk. Don't ask the result. I don't want to tell you. Artzufi now making a move for CERATIZIT WNT. Costa on trying to get on her wheel. Gasparini just one further back. Gasparini looks in complete control. Majerus just in 4th wheel there, looking like she's beginning to suffer.
Very strong day from Artzufi.
Yeah, very strong day. That was someone in full Soudal Quick-Step kit. With a Soudal Quick-Step bike. Do we know of any riders that live around here?
Remy Mertz.
I've seen...
but I don't know if he's riding for the Soudal team.
Last time I saw a couple of professionals out when I was here, male professionals out training. And that group comes back, but it comes back to a smaller group. Will they keep this going? The Fassa Bortolo now on the front, the Norwegian champion, hanging on for grim death, as is Megan Armitage, number 75. Oh, she's in all sorts of horrors, isn't she?
Yeah, she's paying off the attacks. So.
Yeah, but it's brilliant. It's brilliant to have seen her be so aggressive. And that's Maika Kolja, her teammate, number 71, just hanging on at the back of that. Armitage using the wheel of the Norwegian rider to get back on. Bastianelli now at the back of this group on Wollaston's wheel. Lack out of the saddle. Bang, let's have a go.
That's Cédrine Kerbol.
Oh, is it? My mistake?
With Femke Gerritsen.
Yeah. Makes the front so heavy doing that.
Yeah.
They are coming back, aren't they? The descent doesn't exactly help the front group stay away, but it's a question of whether or not they're able to keep the pressure up once they've come around that dead turn. I think we could safely say that's one group now, isn't it? With these two just marginally off the front. Is that Christine chasing behind? I think so. It looks like a specialised helmet. Yeah.
Yeah.
A big heavy sigh there from the French rider at the front, the CERATIZIT WNT rider, taking that left-hander for the final time. That's a bid for glory, isn't it? That really is. That is a big effort. Gerritsen really is now on her last legs, unable to bring that back. So it's down to Gasparini to do the work to bring it back. Does she have her teammate there? She does. I think she does. Gasparini does have Bastianelli in that group just behind. So it's now at the front. is Kerbeol, Gasparini, and is that
Jotstad, no?
Artistad? Yeah. Oh, look at that effort there from the Vasa Bortolo rider. And they're all back together. This will come back. There's no way that this is going to be allowed to go, I don't think. Whether that other larger group at the back comes back, who knows? Wollaston putting in another big effort. Bastianelli really showing how hard a day it's been further back. And Wright gets out the saddle, puts in a few pedal strokes and realises that really hurts. I'm going to have to sit down again. I don't know whether I can put power through when I'm sat down or whether I'm standing up. Attack, Costa. Gasparini again. Gasparini is going to have to really work now to get on the wheel of Costa. Costa starting the day in 4th place overall. Just 8 seconds down on GC Costa this morning. Gasparini strong, spin of the legs as you go into the little ring.
Wollaston wants to make the effort.
Pardon?
Wollaston makes the effort.
Yeah.
Look. Crazy.
Yeah, I think she should. Well, she has to. She has to. She's alone, and Bastianelli can defend. She has Gasparini up the road, so it has to be down to Wollaston. She doesn't look as on the edge as we thought, I don't think. Or perhaps she's just able to mask her feelings as the camera go past. It takes a big gulp of air, grits her teeth as the camera goes. Just 2 women at the front now. Costa putting in a massive, massive effort.
But they got a gap.
They've got a gap. They have a gap with Gasparini on her wheel. And can this... I think that's back together, isn't it? So we have Costa, Gasparini, Wollaston, Bastianelli, and there's just a CERATIZIT rider on the back of that, I think.
That's Artufi.
It's Artufi. And Artufi started the day in 12th, 18 seconds down. Eight seconds. She gets a 10-second gap, 10 seconds bonus. Bish, bosh, bash, as we like to say, and the GC is hers. This is a brilliant finish, a brilliant finish. Can this small group stay together and take it?
And 3 of the 4 jerseys are in the front group, so...
Yeah.
I mean, we cannot be disappointed with that kind of racing that we're currently seeing.
No.
I think, Bastianelli just has a poker face. Because, see, you can now... Gasparini is now pulling through, so...
Gasparini is set to work, I think, by her team. She looks like she's blowing there, doesn't she? Bastianelli, look over her shoulder. I haven't got it. Have you got it? They've got to go through and off now if they want to stay away. Is there any reason to stay away? This is the front of the race on GC, essentially. You had Costa, who started the day in 4th. You have Bastianelli, who started at the lead. Gasparini, who was 3rd. Artufi, who was a little bit further down. And Wollaston, who was 2nd. There's a bit of looking around at each other. Bastianelli's never going to want to lead this. Wollaston shouldn't want to lead this either. So Artufi, probably the worst sprinter in this group. She knows that she's going to have to take responsibility while the others protect themselves ready for the bunch sprint. 4 kilometres to go, 7 seconds for a leading group of 5 women. Anushka Costa, Marta Bastianelli, Eleonora Gasparini, Maria Alice Artufi, and Ali Wollaston, the New Zealand champion, wearing the young rider's jersey. A lot of looking around here in this group. This is, I think, this is your winning group. Gasparini goes. Now that's pressure on Wollaston. Wollaston tries to get across onto the Italian's wheel, but behind her she has another Italian. Bastianelli, who is the defending champion and defending the yellow jersey in these final 3.6 kilometres. Artzufi struggling to close the gap. Costa thinking, so am I. She's got a good pain face as Costa. She always looks like she's on it, even when she's not. Wollaston swings out. Come on, she says. Must be intimidating for such a young woman with such a... old is not the fair word, but an older woman, much more experienced woman like Bastianelli, looking around, looking at each other. This is the general classification on the line. The yellow jersey, the white jersey. This is a fantastic finish. Come on, says Wollaston. Gasparini looks over. Do I go? Do I not go? Costa sits on. Costa's, I think, going to want to go long. So is Artzufi. Just that out of the saddle, that desperate out of the saddle moment. Gasparini looking this way, looking that way. Wollaston coming through. Wollaston's doing too much work, I think, here. She's taking too much responsibility. I think you have to be a bit more circumspect sometimes. You just have to think, this isn't for me. 11 seconds now, 2.9 kilometres to go.
I mean, honestly, I think Bastianelli has a good poker face because she's just pretending to be suffering.
Yeah, maybe. Here she comes. She's come through. She's going to take a turn.
Yeah, well,
she doesn't care.
No, she's not really. She probably knows she's going to win the sprint anyway. Yeah. So she does not bother.
The fascinating thing is, if Wollaston wins the stage, and as far as we know, she's 4 seconds back, and Bastianelli is second, they will be level on time and level on stage wins.
Yeah.
Because it'd be first and second, second and first.
Yeah.
And so we'll have to wait for the commissaires. Another big move here from Gasparini on a little dig coming into the village. Bastianelli looks like she's on the edge here. Costa gritting her teeth. Wollaston still keeping her face looking composed, but she's having to put a big effort in to get that move back. Look over the shoulder from Gasparini. Costa's looking around as well. Artzufi comes back. Will Artzufi look to go over the top on this left-hander? Oh, this is a brilliant finish. Brilliant finish. On the radio says is Bastianelli, whether she's talking to Gasparini or whether she's talking to teammates behind. Who have I got behind me? Who's there if we sit up? Wollaston taking responsibility, sat on the front, flicks her elbow, nothing going. Bastianelli's not coming round. Gasparini's not coming round. Slows her cadence to nothing. Artzufi thinking, wondering how she's going to win this stage. Bastianelli on the radio again. And Gasparini lets the wheel go on the radio, talking to her team leader, asking what's going to happen here. This is a fantastic finish. Gasparini goes. Wollaston straight on her wheel. Artzufi, Bastianelli's there too. The group behind is coming back with one of the CERATIZIT riders just trying to come back. That'll be another chat on the radio. Can we see, are there any UAE riders in that chasing group? I don't know. I can't see one. Gasparini is now in a position to lead. I think she's being told to lead out her teammate now. 1.3 kilometres. If Gasparini sits up, this other group will come back. And then it's a whole different ball game. Big effort here from Gasparini. 1 New Zealander, 3 Italians and a Dutch woman. Over her shoulder, Wollaston looks Gasparini, big effort. Over her shoulder looks Bastianelli. What's going to happen? A little bit of a gap to go into. Bastianelli on the radio once again. Oh, they're coming back. CERATIZIT bringing this back. You've got Herita in second wheel. Herita can put in a good wheel. This is why Artzufi's not taking a turn. She's the worst sprinter in this front group. We're down to 200 metres. Gasparini still working on the front. Look over the shoulder. Gasparini pulls off. Wollaston starts a sprint. Bastianelli's on her wheel. Wollaston's fast, a higher cadence than Bastianelli. Wollaston still on the front. Costa nodding her head. All the effort trying to get through. It's going to be Wollaston. Wollaston takes the stage. Bastianelli in second and Costa in third. What a fantastic final lap. Boy, did I enjoy that. Brilliant. Now, who won the GC?
Yeah.
I don't know. Woo!
Luckily, we don't need to decide.
Just check my watch. Where's my heart rate there? Resting heart rate normally about 52. I'm at 87 at the moment. Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Wow,
And here is
finish.
one of the UAE riders. Looks like Bertizzolo leading in this chasing group. We got Nina Bertin in that. And a very, very exhausted and brilliant performance from Ali Wollaston, the New Zealand national champion. But we didn't get the results of the first intermediate sprint. You may have them at home, but we haven't seen them. But from the congratulations, fabulous. What excellent work from AG Insurance. What a fantastic race. And if she's got it, much deserved. Very different tactics from UAE ADQ, but much deserved. Whoever. If you get more goals, you win, and that's the way it works. What a brilliant race.
I mean, we saw some good racing now, so
yeah,
whoever gets it deserves it.
Bit of a gel for recovery then. I can hear a dog barking. Look at this sprint. She led that from the front from Gasparini. Gasparini pulled off, and then it slowed, didn't it? And she's actually opened the sprint from the front. This woman is a real woman of the future.
But also look at Costa. She did a great sprint to keep up with both of them.
And is that France in fourth?
Yeah. So they caught them in the end.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Yeah, it's sometimes good to have younger teams and also younger riders because they spicing up the, I'd say, the old-fashioned and more tactical races.
Yeah. That's a really interesting point because we're seeing a young team racing in a very modern, young way.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that they are a young team. UAE are a young team, but they're racing in a more old-fashioned way.
Yeah, exactly.
And sort of contrasting styles. Someone trying to get a picture. I think we can tell from the reaction here that maybe the GC has gone in the way of Wollaston here.
Yeah. But honestly, if I would have... I saw the start list before, I would never have thought this outcome.
Yeah, I certainly had her highlighted. I will prove it.
Yeah.
I certainly had her highlighted as someone that was going to do well. I did think that Bastianelli would take the overall because she's too wise and too strong. But perhaps wisdom has been outdone by youthful exuberance.
Yeah.
And the younger director in the car with Yulindora. Here we go. Let's have a look at this. Gasparini looks over her shoulder. We got about 250. Stops pedaling essentially. So out of the saddle, bang, with what's that? 175 to go. Wollaston takes it on. And there's no way that Bastianelli is coming over the top.
But even though Wollaston has done so many, she closed so many gaps. I mean, it's still, mesmerizing to see a sprint in that way.
If betting's your thing, I would put a bet on Wollaston winning one of the biggest spring classics. Yeah. When I say that, I mean Roubaix or Flanders or both.
Yeah.
In the future, obviously. Obviously, because it can't be the past. There you go. Provisional result from stage 2. Wollaston, Bastianelli, Costa, Heidi France in 4th, Azzuffi 5th, Fidanza in 6th, Christy Measure 7th, Femke Gerritza in 8th, Alessia Vigilia in 9th, and Mia Ottestad in 10th. At the end of a fantastic and entertaining stage. And do our production team have the GC result? The one we're all waiting for.
But also, well, we don't know the outcome of the GC, but if she's going to win, I don't know if any other rider has won it in the youth.
Yeah, the Italian rider who won
Paternoster.
Paternoster.
Oh, yeah, right, that's right.
Brilliant. Well, I hope you've enjoyed these last 2 days, because Claire and I certainly have.
Yeah.
Yeah, the podium will be happening fairly shortly, and we hope to have a post-race interview for you. But they need to exactly work out who's run the race overall and bring them to the interview station, which is, I can see it from here. Sprinting for the minor places there, one of the, I think, one of the Phoenix de Koenig riders. Bit of sugar, bit of caffeine in to recover from the start the recovery process after the race. And that does, she obviously knew she won the stage. That looks like she's just been told she won the GC. There's Yulene Dora there, the former, well, one of the best sprinters of the last 5 or 10 years. Giving her a pat on the back, and it very much is a team in that little squad. They seem like a proper band of sisters, if you like, that work for each other and give everything. Not that UAE aren't, because we've clearly seen that they work really, really hard together. Fantastic racer. A shake of the fist from Yulene Dora. The first ever women's world Madison champion, with Lotte Kopecky, of course. When they introduced that, I think in 18, Kopecky and Dora. Was it 18 or 19 they introduced that?
It was not long ago.
No, it wasn't long ago. It should have been much sooner. One of the best track events there is.
Yeah.
It'd be good if someone went and got Ali Wollaston there and took her to the podium so we can hear an interview. Get her Kiwi jersey, stick that over the top. The last thing I want after a hard ride is a fizzy drink, I have to say.
Really?
Oh, no.
Oh, I'm a Fanta girl.
Oh, are you? I have a fizzy drink once or twice a year.
Okay. One.
I drove home from Paris after La Course one year on... And the men's race in the evening, I drove home from that on Snickers and Coca-Cola. Reserve Coca-Cola for special moments. And here is your GC. General classification, your provisional results, it says here. Ali Wollaston takes the lead in 6 hours, 1 minute and 57 seconds with Marta Bastianelli at 1 second. Anushka Costa third at 14 seconds. Femke Heritzer in fourth. Ariana Fidanza, Heidi Franz, Cedrine Kerbayol, Mia Otistad, Alicia Maria Atsufi, and Christine Majorus rounding out the top 10, 28 seconds behind your overall leader. People in the timekeeper's bus desperately doing sums. Another photo for AG Insurance. And our French friend, who doesn't live in France, he told me yesterday he actually lives in the Netherlands. Hence, he gets to all the races around here. Still cheering, and plenty going on back there in the from the AG Insurance team. Finally gets a jumper. And it's all over. I always think it's immensely sad when a bike race finishes and the riders roll back to the team vehicles. And
well, I was always thinking when the race was finished and I was back at the car, I was always thinking immediately up to the next race.
yeah, I suppose you have to be like that.
Yeah.
But of course, my perspective is very different, and I always see them as kind of romantic. And while it's happening, it's this wonderful big event.
Yeah.
And now it's all finished. It's all over. And you've got any old Tom, Dick or Harry walking up the road. Riders kissing their mums. And that's Wollaston going past the finish line and her way into the... oh, no, they've opened it there. And you see that motorbike just turning in on the right there. That motorbike is turning in behind us. You might even hear it on the background behind us. I can feel it rumbling through the seat of my chair. And there's your points classification there, with Wollaston taking 49 points, Marta Bastianelli in second, 4 points behind, Anushka Costa, Ariana Fidanza, Femke Geritza, Eleonora Gasparini, Heidi Franz, Alicia Maria Alzufi, Christine Mesurus, and Maeva Skibin. And I think we're going to get an interview fairly shortly, because I've just had a message from Jolien Dora saying, yes, she's on her way. So thanks to Jolien. But more thanks to the riders for giving us such an entertaining couple of days, and a contrasting styles between the two main protagonist teams, with UAE, that slightly more conservative style of racing, and AG Insurance Soudal Quickstep, just swinging punches, just an outstandingly entertaining performance from Belgian team. And they do have a great project going there, don't they, at AG Insurance, with the tiers and the tiers of teams that they have, with the junior and the U23s. And we're going to give you some of the highlights from today's stage, just before we get the interview, hopefully. Here we go. And off we rolled from the Stade de Luxembourg, with all the jerseys on the front, including that of the eventual winner, number 61, Ali Wollaston. After a fairly benign opening few kilometres, it was Le Dunf from Arkea who was up the road on her own, getting a lead of up to 1 minute, well over 1 minute, up to 1 minute 15 she had, with 79 kilometres remaining. Bike handling skills there, straight the decision to get across the pavement there. We had a small crash, a touch of wheels, and luckily everyone managed to get back on, and as far as we're aware, there were no injuries of any major consequence. But Le Dunf managed to hold her lead at the front before Palazzi from Fassa Bortolo made her move off the front of the peloton with 72 kilometres to go. However, by the time the Italian reached the French woman at the front of the race, the peloton were closing in. and they were consumed by the peloton, led by Marta Lack, the Polish rider of CERATIZIT WNT. On the first classified climb of the day, it was our Queen of the Mountains, Nina Berton, who made sure by taking the maximum points and another bidon to make sure she had enough liquid to get her to the finish line. Stampeding cows, obviously rushing off to watch the live stream once they'd seen the race go past. And then the beautiful sight of the peloton rolling through the rolling hills of southern Luxembourg and the oilseed rape, and an aggressive final to this entertaining 115-kilometre race. Is Cédrine Kerbayol kicking off this final few laps. The ever-aggressive Arkea team at the front, crossing the line. But it's Kerbayol again, making the difference on the descent down towards the day's final climb. And we were left with a group of 5 women. Eleonora Gasparini and her teammate. But as they came into the final 250 metres, it was Ali Wollaston, the New Zealand champion, wearing the white jersey of the best young rider, who launched a long and powerful sprint, holding off the Italian master, Marta Bastianelli, to take both the stage and the overall general classification. And a big hug from her sports director, Julien Dora. Look at that for a sprint, and with Costa as well, putting in a massive, massive amount of power. I'd love to know these riders' power numbers in this final sprint. I have about 350 kilos on top of the pedal to add to my power output, but there you go. And that was your stage result with Wollaston, Bastianelli, Costa, France, Azzuffi, Fidanza, Majus, Geritza, Vigilia and Ottestad. And the general classification: Ali Wollaston takes the win, 6 hours, 1 minute and 57 seconds. Bastianelli 1 second back. Anushka Costa at 14 seconds. Then Femke Geritza, Ariana Fidanza, Heidi France, Cédrine Kerbayol, Mia Ottestad in 8th, Azzuffi in 9th, and Christine Majerus rounding out the top 10 at 28 seconds. Your points classification: Ali Wollaston takes another jersey to her collection, with Marta Bastianelli second, Costa, Fidanza, Geritza, Gasparini, France, Azzuffi, Majerus and Skipin. Your Queen of the Mountains was won early on in this race, really, wasn't it? Nina Berton taking 25 points and completely unchallenged, with Marta Edzeth in with 4 points, Megan Armitage with 4, Sophie Wright with 3, Christine Majerus with 3, Heidi France 3, Eleonora Gasparini in 7th place with 2, and Sofia Bertizzola in 8th. Anyway, we're not going to get an interview, sadly. We're very sorry about that. But we would like to thank you for joining us for this race. Enjoyed yourself?
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for the nice 2 days. I hope everyone enjoyed our commentary, and hopefully we'll see you next year.
And the music's going in the background. The party has started, and we'll see you next year.